Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
All right, hello and welcome to Wednesday's night's Sports Minute. I am Big B. I'm hosting for Ace today. He's having some technical issues, just like I did last week. So I am joined tonight by our man, the myth, the legend from behind the scenes, Syrup Crispy Bacon. How you doing?
Not too bad. Hope everyone's having a great day, and you're to talk sports.
Yep, we're here to talk sports finally. It seems like it's been forever for me. And then kitty corner for me underneath Chris is Mr. Angel himself, James Gonzalez. How you doing?
I just got off work. I have no clue what's going on in the sports world, but I'll try to figure it out.
Well, that's the fun thing with the internet. We can sit here and chat about sports while we look on the internet, and so. And then below me, the man, the myth, also a legend in his own mind, Mr. Callen. How you doing?
I'm doing great, gents. Great to see you all, and it's great to be back on a program finally talking sports with you guys after the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. I would call you Mr. Padre, but I think that would be a slap in the face to the true Mr. Padre. But yes, you are a huge Padre
would agree.
fan. So, but first off, speaking of that, for me, 1997 today, or this date in 1997, the Twins retired Mr. Kirby Puckett's number. So that's, Colin, you could definitely talk about what that kind of meant as a fan. But for me, Puckett's the Twins. I know people all say Mauer, Killebrew, and that's fine. I mean, a generation, but I know, Chris, you might be too young. James, you might be just around there. Do you guys got any memories? I could go on, but what's your first thoughts when it comes to Mr. Kirby Puckett? James, Colin?
Man, I just think about him making that amazing catch in the 91 World Series because again, they had the plexiglass, I think, at the Metrodome in certain sections of the stadium. And I remember him going up and making that grab. Now, I wasn't alive, though, but having seen that game, over and over, especially during the COVID pandemic when, there weren't games on, so they would just re-air old games on MLB Network or what have you. And I think about that catch, and I think about, of course, the famed homer, though, and hearing Jack Buck say, and we'll see you tomorrow night for Game 7. Then, of course, you go to Game 7, you have the pitchers duel, and then obviously the Twins win the World Series on that base hit. But Puckett for the longest time, you're thinking of a ball club, though, in Minnesota by way of Washington, D.C., though, and they've had a lot of really great players, wearing their uniform, whether it's Killebrew way back when or Kirby and Joe Mauer, Justin Morneau at one point in time, Tony Oliva. I mean, for heaven's sakes, my dog Rodney is named after Rod Carew. So you had him playing for Minnesota for a long time. And certainly, you always think about, those franchise staples, and Kirby for sure, I think is really, at least for me, is Mr. Twin.
Yep. James, Chris, what have you guys seen? I know, he's past your guys' playing days, or, his playing days are past when you guys are born, but what do you guys
I'll tell you what, I never got to see him play, unfortunately. But definitely, he is the Twins. He always will be. I think he has that statue outside Target Field. Am I right? Yeah.
Yep.
I'll also, piggyback on what Callan said about that Game 7, that's World Series in 91. The fact that he was a Twin for life, that means something. The fact that Kevin Garnett put number 34 on his shoes for some Timberwolf games, saying like he's, the face of Minnesota sports forever, when I always thought Kevin Garnett, but it's Kirby Puckett to me. You could throw in, Jim Marshall, Alan Page. I'm trying to think of other Vikings.
Whalen.
There's not
Moss.
Yeah, you got
to Moss, Whalen.
Yeah, I go with you.
Puckett's definitely the Twins, and whenever that comes up, that core four that they had for MLB, where you had to pick like the Mount Rushmore for each team, the first guy I thought, of course, for Minnesota was Kirby Puckett.
Oh yeah, he's definitely, number one, like I said in my books. Chris, how about you? Any?
Yeah, well, I haven't seen him play, but I know that, certain players and certain teams in sports, they mean something to that community or the sport and the team itself. So, to have him play as long as he did with a single team or for one team, it's hard to do, including now. So.
Yeah, no doubt. His career got cut short. His life even cut shorter. To me, I mean, I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think without the rings and what he did outside of baseball, he would have been a first ballot, and that's coming from a guy that's a big Puckett fan. But Colin, you bring up the home run, and, it's funny because there's a story out there, Chili Davis has told it, that Puckett went up to it, was like, man, I'm just going to slap this one over, over shortstop's head, I think it was, get on base, and then you can drive me home. And Chili's like, nah, man. You go out there. Who would the Twins fans rather see hit a home run, Chili Davis or Kirby Puckett? So you go out there, just take your pitch and drive it, and that's what he did. So then, of course, we got Game 7. So, anyways, again, today that's my little history take today, and proud to definitely be a fan of his. So, Calvin, let's talk a little bit about your sport. You're a big hockey guy, so give us a little update on the playoffs. What's going on? I mean, hockey playoffs is, to me, one of the best playoffs around because they play 120% every game, and we were talking a little bit off screen. If hockey regular season was like the playoffs, it'd be the number one sport in the U.S. So what do you got for hockey?
Yeah, I mean, this second round has been absolutely sensational across the board. You're thinking of having two intercity or interstate rivalries right now in the Lightning sweeping the Florida Panthers, who had won the President's Trophy this year. Again, the President's Trophy cursed once again, rears their ugly head in the Stanley Cup postseason. Tampa Bay, it just seems like, though, every time the playoffs roll around, they just seem like that they go to a whole nother level every playoff. And I think, though, and I told this to, Brandon, I told you this to, you and Chris and James before the program. Tampa, I think, is really on a mission to prove to people that the last 2 years have not been flukes, because we had the COVID-shortened season in 19 and 20 with the bubble environment becoming a thing. Then last season was kind of, not quite a full, season still or whatnot, but they still won it last season, again, over Montreal, nonetheless, playing a Eastern Conference opponent in the Montreal Canadiens. When's the last time we probably ever have that? Maybe the last time you ever see East, West for the Stanley Cup ever playing each other. And then you have to think about this season, though, as well, with a division that had been so stacked, though, and that Florida really had turned a huge corner for that franchise with, the likes of Patrick Hornquist and, Alexander Barkovsky, and just a lot of guys who that people didn't know about, but this team went on that great start to the season. But again, President's Trophy curse, rears their ugly head, but more so that the Lightning are out to prove the last two seasons have not been flukes. Then you go to the Battle of Alberta between Calgary and Edmonton. And that first game last Wednesday, me and my friends were out at an arcade down here for my birthday last week, and the game was on TV. And we were just like glued to it, despite playing all the games and drinking the night away. But it was so crazy that it was like 6-1 Calgary. Then, oh my goodness, the Oilers tie the game 6-6, and the Flames win the game 9-6. And that has been all about poor goaltending and just poor defense being played over that entire series. And now Calgary has fallen behind 3-1 against a very good Edmonton team. who I think has also turned a corner. And the fact, though, of that they're getting Connor McDavid going and that his top line with Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, they're performing. They're all healthy. I know that goaltending's been very, suspect in that series, though. But then you have just the spiciness and the hatred between Calgary and Edmonton as cities, though. And you've seen all the penalty minutes and all the times of Matthew Tkachuk and Evander Kane jaw-jacking and, picking up penalties. We had Milan Lucic absolutely railroad Mike Smith on Sunday, and that set off a huge melee between those two teams. And it should not be surprising for NHL fans watching that this is what you wanted. You wanted to see Calgary play Edmonton and even see Tampa Bay play the Florida Panthers, because that those intercity and interstate rivalries get, turned up a notch, as Brandon said about the postseason. Then now you kind of go to this Carolina-New York series back out east, where the Hurricanes have not won a game yet still, guys, on the road in the entire playoff. They have not won a game away from Raleigh so far, but they have just dominated teams at home, though. And I don't know if you can really keep this momentum of winning at home going. You're going to have to win a game on the road eventually. I don't know if it's, the team being fairly young. I don't know if it's a goaltending problem again with Frederick Anderson being out. But I think Antti Raanta has done one whale of a job, no pun intended, with them being the Whalers back in the day, of keeping this Hurricanes team somewhat above the water right now, and especially playing a very good New York team, though, with so much scoring with Mika Zibanejad, along with Alexei Lafreniere and their goalie Igor Shesterkin. He's kind of also been a bit up and down, though. But now Carolina's gone from being up 2-0 to now being tied 2 games apiece. Then now you move to a very, I think, interesting series between the Blues and Avalanche in Colorado. I got to see them play firsthand up in Anaheim, and that team is just built differently. And if it was to be Colorado and Edmonton in the Western Conference Final, I really think the winner of that series wins the Stanley Cup, because Colorado has just been obliterating teams all season, and their scoring threats on the roster are from the top guy down. I mean, you're talking about a top line with Nathan McKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog. You're also talking about, Nazem Kadri, who had to, endure some racist taunts in St. Louis earlier on in the series, though, and he shut him up with a hat trick, though, in the most recent game before tonight, though. But then, though, you have to think about the Blues, though, 2019 Cup champions. They fall behind 3-1, but then, though, they have probably the biggest comeback in my mind so far in this postseason. They fall behind 3-0 in Denver. They climb all the way back to tying the game at 3. They fall behind again 4-3. But then Robert Thomas ties the game, though, in the dying minute of a would-be elimination game to force overtime. And then the Blues win the game 4 minutes into the overtime to force Game 6. And I was actually telling my dad before I came on to the show is that who knows how demoralizing of a loss that could be for Colorado. Though they had a great regular season, I still believe that they win the series, though. But especially, Brandon, as you said, though, about how the playoffs get ratcheted up, though, who knows what blowing a 3-0 lead will do to a team, though, having to go back on the road, clinch there in Game 6. And if you lose that game, you've got to clinch at home in Game 7. And I think historically, Game 7 does not, in my mind, really favor teams playing, after a game like this. So I think so far, though, the entire postseason has been wonderful. Sadly, again, Dustin Brown, longtime member of the LA Kings, retiring now after the season, after the Kings got beat in Game 7 by Edmonton, though. But, great player for him, a great career, 2 cups in 3 years up in Los Angeles. Pittsburgh going down, is this the last hurrah maybe for Crosby and Malkin together? What do they do about the goaltending situation in Pittsburgh? Boston, I think they kind of caught fire a bit towards the end, though, but I think they ran into a pretty hot team, though, in Carolina. And then you just have to kind of think about those teams that got knocked out. Dallas, the Stars, Rick Bowness stepped down as head coach fairly recently, too. So there's some questions for those teams who were knocked out, though, but all around, though, it's been a just amazing, couple of games, or for that matter, a great playoff. And more than anything else, though, just a great comeback tonight by the Blues to take down Colorado and force Game 6 back in St. Louis on Friday.
Yeah, just looking at the stats right now, Robert Thompson right now is probably the fans' love him in St. Louis. He's the one that scored the tying goal with 56 seconds left in the game. And then I'm going to butcher his name that got the winning goal, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But, those two guys right there are probably can eat for free in St. Louis anytime they want to keep the series going. So
yeah,
Probably.
and I think a lot of it goes back though in a way. I mean, I know they've been that the Blues have kind of been shuffling, Ville Husso and Jonathan Bennington though. But this is still a very good team though. Who, let's not forget, did win the Stanley Cup in 2019 over a very good Boston Bruins team though in Game 7 back in Boston, and that is a very veteran-led group though with Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, David Perron, who's been kind of a journeyman, though. This is still a very good team, though, and I think though that they are truly the only team, in my opinion, who really I think is going to hold back Colorado from going to the next round. Because I think if the Avalanche are able to get over St. Louis, again, I still think that they will get over St. Louis. That I really think whoever wins the Western Conference Championship this year is probably going to win the Stanley Cup this year. I do like Carolina. I do like the Rangers. I do like Tampa Bay, though. But I just think, though, that with how Colorado's played this season, how Edmonton has finally put it together, though, with their top line and their forwards and their play so far, and even with their with the coaching change in the middle of the season, though, for Jay Woodcroft, who was coaching in Bakersfield with the American Hockey League affiliate in Bakersfield, California, that Edmonton's turned a corner. But I still think, though, that Colorado is my favorite still, but I just want to see how this plays out because it's been a great Stanley Cup playoff so far this season.
All right, James, you got anything to add? I know, like you said, you haven't been busy, haven't been able to catch all the sports.
Right, no, but tomorrow I see there's a Game 5 between New York and Carolina. I'll definitely be trying to get home in time to watch that. Edmonton trying to close things out in Calgary. And then Colorado, the same thing in St. Louis. We'll see if that happens. But I do agree with Cal in there where the winner of the West will win the Stanley Cup. I could definitely see that.
No, I definitely do. I mean, the playoffs are always, unbelievable. Definitely if you're not a hockey fan, you're enjoying them. I'm not much of a hockey fan. But, Callan, I think you're right, though. I think Tampa wants to show that the last 2 years haven't been a fluke. When's the last time there's been a three-peat in hockey?
Oh, I think you have to go back to I feel like it's either Detroit. I feel like Detroit repeated. I might be wrong. I think it was the late '90 Red Wings who repeated, but then you'd have to go back to the Islanders and the Oilers and maybe even Messier's Rangers in the '90s.
Oh yeah, okay.
And even if it's not then, it's probably somewhere with Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
They won 24 titles, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, Chris, have you caught any of the playoffs, or what are you thinking?
I've caught a little here and there, but I mean, I haven't sat down and watched a full game. But I know it's hard to, in any sport, to win multiple championships, whether it be, 2 or 3 back to back. I know Tampa Bay has a target on their back, so to speak, and this is one of the hardest playoffs to win. So if they do get a third, it's going to be well worth it. And especially since the two have been, during COVID, you've been in the bubble of some sorts. And if you win this one, you're kind of pointed as relevant that you can win in a bubble or without, being in a bubble.
Big time.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you guys seen the highlights. I actually was alluded to it the other night from a friend's post. Calgary Flames scored a goal from 130-some feet out. Now, Callan, I don't know if you saw it. It looked like to me that the goalie probably blinked, but somebody said it was a bad bounce. I didn't see the full. I just saw the quick shot of it. So, what could have happened? You tell me what you saw.
I honestly think that Mike Smith may have blinked. Because it's nowhere as bad as Vesa Toskala letting in a goal from 197 feet away when he played for the Maple Leafs many years ago. It was a shorthanded clear out on a penalty kill for the Islanders, and the guy shot it down the ice, and it happened to just take a wicked bounce, and Vesa got out of place, and it went right by him into the net. That was the only goal he allowed the whole night, believe it or not, was that goal from 197 feet away. But I've seen a fair share of just weird goals like that. I've seen some pucks that have been shot around the glass, but it hits off the partition a certain way. The goalie comes out, it goes right in the net off the glass. So I think in that case, though, it's just like, Mike Smith got fooled, sadly. I think it was like a line drive that just kind of sunk away from him like it was a play in baseball. And, those goals happen, sadly.
Yep, exactly. So I'm looking at the list of Stanley Cup winners here, and it looks like we had 2 back-to-back 4-peats,
yes.
4-peat, 76 through 79 Montreal Canadiens.
No surprise there.
And then 80 to 83 the New York Islanders.
Yep. And then I think after that it would have been Edmonton, I think.
Edmonton with 2 in a row, and then Montreal, then Edmonton with the 2 in a row again. So, and, they kind of split up there. Montreal in the middle, then Calgary won, and then Edmonton won again. So Edmonton had a pretty good team in their late 80s, early 90s.
That was Gretzky era before he went to Los Angeles.
Yep. So there hasn't been a 3-peat done since 89, I guess. Or, is that what I said, 89? Yeah, 89. So, I'm sorry, 83 it was. So
New York, yeah.
Yeah,
New York,
Islanders, yeah. So, Tampa's going to join an elite
group, that's for sure, if they can pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So, enough hockey talk. Got some comments here. Isaiah, what's up, guys? And then Chuck Hoffman's looking great, gents. So, talking a little basketball there, Chris. What have you caught from the NBA playoffs? Not as exciting as the NHL playoffs, but
right. I mean, it's still been good so far. I mean, Golden State Warriors are still, on top of the Mavericks. 3-1 actually, 3-1. They play tomorrow night. Potential, game ender for Dallas, but who knows? It could come back like they did against Phoenix. I believe it's a closer matchup between the Celtics and the Heat. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's 3-2 Boston right now.
And I'm sure, if Dallas does make it, I'm sure they want Boston over Miami, just because of past feelings towards that. But.
Yeah. So, James, what did you catch on the basketball side of things?
Well, once again, I wasn't watching, but I saw in the third quarter here, just by the score, Boston took over the game. And to win by 13 in Miami is just amazing to me. Jimmy Butler only scored 13 points, Adebayo 18, Vincent 15. Lowry played 25 minutes, but had as many points as we did. None. Jason Tatum with 22, Jaylen Brown with 25, Horford with 16. I think Horford's really been stepping up out of nowhere.
Here, man, goodness.
Yeah, dude is like 37 years old, whatever he may be, and he's doing well for Boston. Against that, in that Bucks series, he had a huge game. I think it was like 34 points. I can't recall, but it's pretty good.
In the first place was because of Horford's play.
Yeah, so it was good. It's good if you're a Boston fan right now. You're feeling very confident going back home. We know one for sure, and I think Boston will probably close it out. For Miami being the first seed, it just seems like a fraud. Now injuries can be a part of that, no doubt, with Butler and Lowry. Adebayo, he's not the best center. He's not going to get things done by himself.
What? He's not the best center?
No.
Somebody claims that he's the greatest center of all time. So
hey, NBA released their their NBA, not All-Star team, but NBA
75th anniversary team, and he was not on that list.
All NBA. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
all NBAs. Yeah, I haven't caught that either.
Yeah.
But Horford and Williams, they've been doing the job on Adebayo when Adebayo was supposed to take it over. But I think it'll end tomorrow, or I'm sorry, end Friday. Tomorrow, of course, you got the Warriors and the Mavericks. It's going pretty much the same way the series with the Grizzlies is going, where, hey, the Warriors let Dallas get one, and then they're going to go back home and destroy them. And sorry, Chris, it'll be over. I just feel like Boston, after their first month or so where it didn't look like they were going to get it together, now, ever since then, their new coach, Ime Udoka, Brad Stevens up at the GM, bringing in Theis, bringing in Derek White. It's all been working out for the Celtics. They've been playing defensively very well. Offensively, yes, the two guys have been scoring the ball, but other people are getting touches. Like even Peyton Pritchard from Oregon is doing well. And that's great to see because I was hoping he would do well out of the Pac-12. But it seems like the Warriors, I think if Wiggins can get it right, and of course you got the Splash Brothers and Draymond doing his thing, I hope that's a 7-game series, honestly. And I don't care who wins, but that would be a great series. I'm not counting out the Mavericks or the Heat. I just think Celtics Warriors would be a tremendous series. Next series in the finals. That'd be awesome to me.
Yeah. So before we get to Callan, I want to, Chris, can you pull up Tim's comment there? He just wants to, I think we threw him a curveball here. Because he said, wait, Bam ain't the great GOAT center? Well, no crap. So,
hey,
all right.
Tim.
All right. So, Callan, what do you think so far? I know you're not much of a basketball guy, but
I mean, I watch it though still, and I agree though it's not been probably the most entertaining because of the score lines that we have seen though dropped in these games. But I'm kind of concerned though about what a flame out by Miami might do for job security. Maybe I don't think it falls on Eric Spoelstra, but maybe a retooling of the front office, maybe because they've had injuries, they haven't had a lot of production out of certain players though as time has gone on here. And that Boston has all the momentum right now and heading back to the Garden, tough place to play in the NBA. I just like the fact, though, that Boston has kind of held things together, though, that they have gotten hot, though, at the right time. I kind of agree, though, with Chris's point, though, about maybe Miami being a fraudulent number 1 seed, honestly. Because I think, guys, that we've known this, though, as basketball fans, the Eastern Conference has not always been the best over the past, I'd say, decade, maybe 10, 15 years, where it's always been, teams who maybe are in certain seeds but aren't really true to that seed. I recall, I think, recently calling the Jazz when they were the 1 seed, kind of a fluke, as was the Suns, I think, when they were the 2 seed, or fairly recently, again, when Utah and the Suns were up there and it wasn't the Lakers or Clippers or Golden State being up there. But certainly, I kind of wonder about Miami, what this might mean, though, for the front office maybe, or that roster and that core that's left down there with the Heat. Boston's kind of pushing all the right buttons right now. Golden State looks like Golden State of the old now that everyone's healthy. Yeah. I think also trying to prove they didn't have – I think they're also, in a way, trying to prove they didn't need Kevin Durant when he first came to when he first came to Golden State, though. And now it's, back to Clay and being, the Clay and Steph Warriors-led ball club. Steve Kerr is Steve Kerr. But then, though, Dallas, though, a great story, though. Jason Kidd getting his 3rd chance to be a head coach. How would it be with, between him and Luka? And, again, other than Luka, though, guys, it's a lot of players on this Mavericks ball club that just show up to work every day and they grind. In a way, they remind me a lot of what I called the Grizzlies. That they're just guys who show up. You don't know one thing about them, but they show up and they play hard. And I know they're missing Tim Hardaway Jr. and Otto Porter Jr. got hurt, though, in the previous game for Golden State, though. But, for Dallas, though, to upset Phoenix, though, and, who knows what this may, in fact, mean for the Suns, though. I love Monty Williams, but how much more in the tank does Chris Paul have in the tank? Is Devin Booker going to sign that $211 million extension to stay in Phoenix as he made an all-NBA team? What does that mean, though, for that team who, for the 2nd straight year, I think, had lofty expectations in Phoenix? But, for Dallas, though, I really feel like this is going to be Golden State versus Boston, two heavyweights, facing off in the NBA Finals. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Golden State is are they the 3 seed or are they like 7?
3.
Golden State was the 3 seed. Yep.
Okay, so that means that Boston would have home floor if they in fact they'd be on the road regardless of who in fact wins though. But I think it's been for the most part in this run it's been very good. But I think more about what happened though in round 1 though, like with along the lines of seeing like Memphis. Memphis had a great playoff run this year. Yeah, maybe they were a fraud being the 2 seed this year because of all the injuries out west. But if there's one team though, I think that I'm very intrigued to seeing right now, it's got to be Boston, because I think that James talked about it, Chris may have talked about it, but a team though with a new coach in place, Brad Stevens moving up to the GM spot though, and how Tatum and Brown have played, Marcus Smart and his injury has kind of been, what have you. But that Boston is not going away. And I would not be one bit surprised if they win game 6 at home and move on to the conference final or move on to the NBA Finals.
Yeah. So before we get to my comments, my tag team of the Balding Brothers, Sarge, how's it going, bud?
Doing good.
Hey.
Yay. Welcome, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Had a little technical difficulties, but watched an amazing hockey game and so forth. And I'm here on Sports Minute. And James, take down that Halo.
Oh yeah, Seattle.
So
I totally forgot.
All right. So we got a couple comments here. Ben chimes in and says, "What our defense?" He's a Boston fan, so what our defense has been able to do all season has been remarkable. And now we need to win Game 6. Job's not done. Miami's going to put up a fight. Go Celtics. I think Golden State finishes it tomorrow.
Okay.
I got to agree. I mean, Miami's definitely going to put up a fight. I can see that going 7 games. I think
however, though, I agree with Ben, though. If the Heat doesn't figure out Boston's defense, they're in a world of hurt, though, in Game 6.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. So, and, I think the Maverick series is over. I think Golden State, I think Colin nailed it, is playing like they were back in the day when they, were in the finals every year. And then Tim chimes in, and he said that he believes that the true Eastern Conference Finals series was Milwaukee versus Boston. So that
I agree with.
Yeah. So, and then we brought up the fact that, calling Miami, a flagrant number 1. Got to say the same about Phoenix. I think Callan kind of touched on it. I mean, they won the division, their conference by 8 games, and they were bounced very early. So
round 2.
Yeah. So, Sarge, what's your takes on NBA? I know, like the rest of us here, not too much of an NBA guy. You got the little spotlight on you. Is your wife there holding the spotlight so you're on camera?
No, it's me. It's just to bring out the good side of me. But
okay.
Are we talking playoffs? We're talking about playoffs?
Yeah, playoffs.
I know. I haven't really been catching much wind of it, but the Boston has actually been surprising me, because I thought the Heat would just roll over them, and I'm surprised that the Bucks are not didn't beat the Boston with that one. But I can't really talk much about it because, like I said, I have not been following much of the basketball on that side. But
I can tell you right now, the 4 original guys on SportsMinute that made NBA predictions, only one of them has a team that could possibly go into the NBA Finals. That's Ace. He had the Heat versus Heat versus Memphis. The rest of us didn't have neither one of these 4 teams. So.
Yeah. Well, I had the Seattle Supersonics going to the finals, but I found out that it's future down the road that they're coming back. So,
hey, the Storm at least have a chance in the WNBA season this year, so you got that going for you.
It's a tough
one. All right, why don't we move on to, probably the best sport that us 4-5 guys know, and that's MLB. So.
Yeah.
Sarge, since we haven't heard from you yet, what's up with the Seattle Mariners? I was going to say Seahawks for a second, but Seattle Mariners and what they've been up to lately.
Well, the Seattle Mariners, their motto this year is "See Us Rise," but right now.
Biggest tank is kind of what it's like right now, sadly.
Well, I actually kind of edit their motto is CS Sync. That's what it is for the Mariners right now. Earlier in the season, I had them going to the playoffs and so forth, but Mitch Haniger, he does not want to be a Mariner because every time he swings a bat, even in practice, he gets injured. He sprained his ankle during batting practice.
That's bad.
Mitch Haniger. So I don't care about pitching. All right. I don't care about pitching. The Seattle Mariners needs offense. Kyle Lewis is back in the lineup, but how much can he do coming back from such horrific injuries and so forth? I don't know. But the Angels and the Twins have actually been surprising me this season. And yes, I know it's early in the season.
Don't get James's hopes up.
I know, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. But the teams like the Mariners, the Angels, and the Twins, they're small markets. We have to rely on the ball, on the farm system, and so forth.
Yep.
You know, get that San Diego out of here. But anyway, but that's what I struggle with baseball. Being a Mariners fan, because we have to rely on our farm system and so forth. As like the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Yankees, they just have to buy their world titles. I mean, they don't play for them; they just buy them. But
they have to buy their wins. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. And right now, it's been. I have to take what I said. The Mariners are not going to make the playoffs this year.
All right, Chris. Let's stay in that West and
yeah,
we got actually three guys from the West.
Everybody's out west.
Yeah. So we got three American out west, and we got Callan on the NL, and then me in the Central. So, Chris, what about your Rangers picking it up a little bit?
Yeah, we're getting better quarter of the way through, and hopefully we continue that. Simeon, he's been kind of up and down, but maybe he'll get better throughout the season. So it's kind of a mixed result kind of thing. We're playing good. Take the first few games of the season. We're playing 500 baseball, but
yep, you're hovering around 500. James, 2 back of Houston. What about your Angels?
Yeah, it feels weird, but a couple of other things. It's weird that we haven't played Seattle yet, but there will be a 5-game series coming up in
eventually.
In June, I believe.
Don't sweat it.
And then, that Marcus Simeon has yet to homer, which is odd. I think he just had all that. He had all that protection in Toronto that they just threw whatever to Simeon, and that's the reason he had 40+ home runs, and he did it in that free agent year. Texas went out. I saw that. Or I read or heard, I think, that the payroll was $93 million for the Rangers.
Nope.
This year, all of a sudden, it's $143 when you sign those two guys up the middle. That was just amazing to hear. But anyway, with the Angels, they were on a winning streak on 3 in a row, but Chris's Rangers ended that tonight, avoiding the 2-game sweep. I believe they won 7-2. Did the Rangers? Unfortunately, but the schedule now gets really, really tough for the Angels coming up. You have 4 with Toronto, then you have an off day, and then you get 3 with the Yankees, 3 with the Phillies, and the Phillies are kind of, you don't know what you're going to get.
Back. Simple as that.
4 with Boston, 4 with the Mets, 2 with the Dodgers, and then that 5-game series with Seattle. So it's going to be a real tough stretch. And first place Houston is now playing teams under 500. People said, "Oh, the Angels have an easy schedule up until tomorrow." Now Houston gets an easy schedule for a little bit during the time the Angels have a very difficult schedule. So our pitching is young, other from Noah Syndergaard and Lorenzen. Hopefully they can anchor the staff with Ohtani going tomorrow against the Blue Jays. The hitting is kind of off and on. At times it could be really good, and then at times you'll have tonight where they only get a couple of runs, and some guy named Glenn Otto totally destroys them against the Rangers. Against the Rangers there. So, this team is off and on. I'm always looking for the time that we're going to struggle, and I think it's going to be this time unless they've changed from years past where they can be a consistent winning ball club. But this month of June here will definitely be the showing of, hey, are we for real or are we not? So it's going to be fun, but it's also going to be aching at the same time.
Yeah, so for me, before we get to Callan and go to the NL, finish up the American League here. Twins have surprised me and probably most of the baseball world because honestly, I didn't think they had a chance to be anywhere near the top right now, and I figured third was the best. But their pitching has been, I know we don't have a solid ace, but just going over my expectations right now. I mean, Ryan, who I just saw was put on the COVID list, so he's going to miss his next start, is pitching phenomenal right now. Bundy, all those guys, the bullpens here and there, but they've been holding their own. The bats, have been a little bit average right now. Buxton's kind of in a slump. Sano is on the IR, which he can stay there for all season. I don't care. But they're up there leading the division, 4.5 up above the White Sox. So right now, I'm impressed with the Twins. I hope they keep it going. For some reason though, they'll probably face the Yankees in the playoffs and get bounced like normal. So, but we'll talk about
that
the Yankees here a little bit.
End eventually.
Yeah, no kidding.
Please.
So let's get to the only guy that roots for an NL team here. Callan, you're Padres.
Yeah, I mean, historically, May is always a good month for the Padres. I don't know why, but at least in the time that I've been alive, that May has been like their hallmark month, and a little bit of a offensive struggle right now after coming back from that 3-city road trip and pounding the Giants on Sunday. They put up 10 runs, and then you come back home and play a very good Milwaukee club, and you score 5 runs in 3 games, and you lose 2 very tough, games on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you score 1 run early in games or early in the game, and you really can't deliver with guys in scoring position. But, I'd say, but so far, I think they have probably been one of the surprise teams because they've done all this right now, gents, without Fernando Tatis Jr. Yeah. And I was definitely one who thought, well, with Nando being out and all the rumors of Hosmer being traded and Myers being traded, and this team, I think, has kind of in a way exceeded some small expectations for keeping this record where it's at right now, off to the good start, and knowing that you have Tatis kind of lurking now. He's a couple days away from being cleared to swing a bat after having the surgery and the rehab so far. So I think it'll be some more time before he's actually healthy. I don't anticipate him probably playing the field right away, though I'd like to see him getting back out there, getting some live game action. But certainly, though, the lineup has been a little bit of a concern, though, in these past 2 games that they have lost to the Brewers, 4-1 Tuesday, 2-1 on Wednesday. Because now you kind of have like this revolving door now between 2 slumping DHs, Luke Voit and now Robinson Cano, being now with San Diego. And both of those players have been kind of, up, down, up, down. But I will say, though, I have liked that Bob Melvin has basically kept the same lineup every game. And that was a big problem that was kind of getting old with the old regime of Andy Green or Jace Tingler. I know they didn't have all the talent that they have now, though. But Melvin, who's been around the block, knows what he's doing. He's kept guys in certain spots. Now, I will say, though, that some guys have kind of started cold. Jake Cronenworth is cold. Hosmer was hot. He's kind of cooled off a bit. Machado's been basically quarter pole, could be the MVP of the season so far for keeping this Padre team afloat so far. But I will say, if there's one area I'm very pleased with the Padres, it has been the starting pitching, because that was a huge, huge ordeal last season. You guys all saw how they came apart in the second half of the season last year, and I saw it firsthand as well, though, here. But I think, though, with Darvish being fully healthy, he's been throwing the ball very well. Snell still kind of knocking the rust off after that long IL stint, though. Clevenger's back on the IL again, Sally, with that tricep strain, though, but he has looked good. Mackenzie Gore has looked very good, though. Sean Manaea has been showing some promise as well. though I'd like to see him cut down on his walks and his, getting into full counts and stuff like that. The wild card, though, of Nick Martinez kind of being that one, 5 or 6 man swing guy has kind of been, interesting, work in progress, though. The bullpen has looked a little bit better. They have been a bit shaky in some spots, though. I do like the acquisition of Taylor Rogers being the Padre closer now and what he brings to the table.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about Mr. Paddock, though, Mr. Herrera, and the trade that was made, though. But I think, though, that just more so for the Padres, let's see if the lineup can kind of get going here. Because I think that, a couple guys are hitting, right at 200, right below 200. I think if there's one guy I feel very bad for right now, it's Trent Grisham. Trent has really been kind of not really looking competent at the plate so far. He's been leading off. He's batted ninth. He's batted down in the order. And he really hasn't caught fire just yet. I'm a little concerned, too, with Jake Cronenworth. I think that guys are starting to figure out what he likes after his season last year. Eric Hosmer's looked very good despite all the rumblings of the trade and, trade him because of the contract, though. I know he's kind of cooled off a bit, though, but he's looked very, very good at the plate. I think he's changed his stance again, though. Jurickson Profar has been kind of hit and miss. I think he had a good start to the season, kind of cooled off here. But I think, though, that right now you kind of have to look, though, at Manny Machado, kind of being the guy who I think now knows with a manager in place like Bob Melvin, a guy he knows and he respects and, I think has come in here and done, some wonders right now. And how Machado has hit more so than playing the field has been, I think, the main reason why the Padres have been this far above 500, at this stage of the season here in late May now. But, I think that it's more of a genuine surprise, though, probably to guys like yourself, though, who thought, like me, though, I think we all would agree, though, Padres don't have Tatis till at least June.
No.
Let's see what they're made of. Let's see what they can do, though, and for them to be, 28, 29, and 15 or 16 and only a game and a half behind the Dodgers in a very competitive top 3 of the NL West, I think is something that I would probably call a moral victory so far for this ball club at this stage of the season.
All right, so let's get a couple comments here. Tim said the Phillies are still in spring training. Ishmael's got a couple here. First, we'll talk about the Royals blew a 6-0 lead in the 8th. Yeah, that was Sunday. And, I'm sorry, but I'm glad the Twins did it. Ishmael, I'm sorry about that. But just want to say that there's a certain somebody that thinks that was the greatest comeback ever in baseball, and that person can we know where he can go. But,
by the way, if they're playing that game, I think they're in Arizona. I'm not surprised by that because as an NL guy, I know how Coors Field and Chase Field play. And Tim, I don't make excuses, but two can play that game though. So
yeah. And then he wants to get our thoughts on the Scherzer injury, for the Mets. So, Kellen, what do you think? How's that going to affect the Mets?
I think they're also a surprising team because I think that we have been so caught up in the Mets as the soap opera off the field. I think we still think about last season and the whole thumbs down thing with Lindor and those guys. But, for Scherzer to go there, but I think, though, guys, we have seen, though, that Scherzer has been a guy who has been so beat up, banged up, chewed up, and spit out in his whole career. I know he's like the lone, he's like the modern day workhorse. Like he wants to go out there and throw a complete game. He doesn't want to be pulled from a game because, the pitch count, third time through the lineup, though. But now with the oblique issue, who knows what this really does, though, for this Mets rotation. I think they got clobbered today by the Giants. I think it was like 9-0 after 3 innings. And I think that Peterson hit 2 homers, Longoria homered twice, I think Yastrzemski homered twice, all in the first 3 innings. So I think without Scherzer, it's going to rely on solely rely on the rotation to absolutely carry the piano while Scherzer is out, though. But also, can the lineup keep producing? Canna and Marte, can Lindor keep doing what he's doing? So, I mean, for Scherzer's injury, if the Mets start falling by the wayside in a couple of weeks with him being out, then it may be time to panic because we know what the Mets have done in the past, though, when it comes to the second half of the season, like the Padres did last year. Here, both these teams, the Mets and Padres, had so many, I think, lofty expectations last season, and both wilted under the pressure when the going got tough.
Yeah. Sarge, how about you? Scherzer's injury.
I mean, I gotta agree with Callan on this one, but one thing I do have to say with Callan is I'm surprised that Cano is not suspended yet. So I'm kind of surprised about that.
Yeah, give it time.
Yeah, give it time, right? So, but Max Scherzer, I think that's probably the biggest injury. I think it's like 6 to 8 weeks that he's going to be out for, from what I read with that one.
And obliques they take forever. I think it's an oblique injury, and those can take weeks, if not a month, to fully come back from if it's not serious.
Same with a sprained ankle from batting practice, I guess. So, but
I've sprained ankles before, but sliding into the base late, I know how long that takes. I had to play on one in my senior year of high school. It hurt like hell. I had a brace on for the first 4 games of the season.
Yeah, so I totally have
fun.
Yeah, I have to totally agree with that one. I'd give it a week for the Mets to start hitting that panic button with that one because Chris, put your earmuffs on, because the Met fans to me are pretty much like Dallas Cowboys fans. They always say it's our year. They always say it's our year, and it has not happened. So Max Scherzer is going to be a huge loss for the Mets.
All right, James, how about you? What do you think on the Scherzer injury?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because they're already out without DeGrom for some time.
Yeah, forgot about that. And
so
no more Syndergaard.
It's fortunate
now.
Yeah. It's fortunate that they traded for Chris Bassett, and they already have Carlos Carrasco. Whatever they can get out of him is great. The rest of that rotation, John Walker, he can be good. Trevor Williams is kind of up and down, the former Pirate. That just means the offense has to step up even more, and they have the names to do it. They brought in players to do it. I know McNeil got banged up today off of a slash toward that low wall in San Francisco.
He still made the catch, though.
So we'll see if
I think he stayed in the game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's a tough guy, and their outfield is kind of stacked. You got Travis Jankowski, the former Padre, but Marte, Nimno, Dominic Smith, Mark Canna. This team should be where they are, but we always remember the past and those years of, going well, and then August you see a little slump, and then September's just hell.
Yeah.
And somebody like the Braves or the Phillies just come out of nowhere and take the division or wild card. And I'm waiting for that to happen, but I'm also waiting for the Braves and the Phillies to, be well themselves. So the only thing the Mets can hope is okay, we'll get our offense going and the pitching will do its thing. And the hope is the Braves and the Phillies do not wake up.
All right.
Well,
go ahead, Sarge.
Oh, so I was going to say that, I can't trust the Phillies going anywhere because they're kind of like a part. You can't trust them. You don't know what's going to come out. But that's how I feel. But that's how I feel about the Phillies. But the Braves, I think, I believe they got Chapman. Is that who they got from Oklahoma?
Matt Olson.
Olson. Yeah. So I think that was a good, I guess, a good fill-in for Freeman and so forth. But I can see the Braves doing it more than the Phillies because, again, the Phillies have Harper on their team. Once Harper leaves the Phillies, then the Phillies will win the World Series.
All right, Chris.
10 years from now.
What's your thoughts on Scherzer's injury?
I mean, it's unfortunate. You don't want to see any player, get hurt, but especially for the Mets when you already have DeGrom out and now you have him out. You don't know what the future is going to be right now. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully they can bounce back, but you just kind of have to work with it, what you got, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely going to be hard. And if, the Mets are still in contention and both those DeGrom and Scherzer come back, they could, if they can pick up where they left off before they got injured, that Mets could be dangerous. But, I think it was James, history always repeats itself and we all are waiting for the Mets to collapse. I know.
With bated breath, we're waiting.
Yeah. I know me and Chris do a show on Tuesdays with the Mets fan, and he's holding his breath right now. So
oh no,
yeah. So Sarge knows what I'm talking about. But
Yep.
so looking at some baseball stats here. You got the Yankees and Dodgers that are just tearing it up on the offensive side. They got possibly the two best records in baseball. Yankees at 33 or 31-13. Dodgers, I believe, was
They lost today to Washington 1-0.
Yeah. And they're sitting at 29-14. But their run differential, Dodgers are plus 101 and the Yankees are 68. I mean, Sarge, does baseball have to start looking into this? Maybe get the salary cap, get it more even. What do you think? I mean, because Yankees and Dodgers right now looks like they're going to be on a clash course to the World Series, and I know we don't want to see that. So
this is like one of the hardest things for me to decide on with baseball. If baseball should have a salary cap, because baseball has been fined. It has been fine without the salary cap for years and years and years. But with current front office Manfred, cough. I think like what's happening is we're starting to see that with the CBAs, it is going more directly to the larger market teams. And because I think the last CBA, there was no revenue increase with the smaller market teams from a report I read regarding that one. And I did not like this CBA whatsoever that came through as well. But salary cap, with everything that's changing in today's age, I'd probably be more in favor for it, just to make it more of an even level field for everyone.
Okay, all right. James, how about you? What do you think? Yankees and Dodgers being the top dogs and most likely on the course for World Series. So what can what should baseball do?
There's really nothing you can do. You just hope that both peter out. Stanton, I heard, is on the DL with an injury, so it's good in that fact that the Angels are going to play him next week. But I know you don't wish injuries on anyone, but it's like, okay, they've won enough. It's time for someone else to win. But when they have stacked teams and success, longevity of success, I should say, like the Dodgers have had, it's unfortunate for everybody else. And then for the Yankees, it seemed like a mixed bag of what that division was going to be. And still not over. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Tampa Bay is pretty much the only one that has a shot at 4.5 to overthrow them. Toronto 7.5. Everybody I know, it was between Toronto and Tampa Bay that was going to win the East. Not many people had the Yankees because the questions about their lineup, but more about their starting pitching, and that's been great for them. To talk about Sarge's point there, this CBA just felt rushed in order to get the season in. It didn't really change anything. Results are going to be what they are, and we'll just have to deal with that and hope those blue bloods lose, basically.
Yeah, Chris, how about you? What do you think? Yankees and Dodgers being pretty much the top dogs right now.
I feel like they're taking all the money. I'm playing. No, they're using it to their advantage in a way and getting the players they need. But I mean, it seems like most other leagues have a salary cap at some point or some type. I think at some point you're going to see a salary cap in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something salary cap, salary floor, or something where they got to pay, to a certain extent. So, what about you, Callan? I don't know if I can't remember.
I mean, as much as I think that there should be one, there's probably never going to be one because of how much money is involved with television. And now that you have teams selling jersey ads for next season, I know the Padres have a deal with Motorola Wireless to put the Motorola logo on their sleeve next season. Here in 2023. But I totally get though about like the frustration of, oh, it's New York, oh, it's Los Angeles, oh, it's Chicago. I mean, we should all expect this in, I think, every sport, that it's usually going to be the big market cities, and people who live in San Diego or live in Seattle or live in suburban Orange County. You're left fighting for the breadcrumbs because your organizations just can't compete with the city, like cities like LA, or the media mogul in New York, or even compete with Chicago or Dallas, or or these other places, depending on what sport it is though. And and for the longest time, all I've ever seen is always seeing the Dodgers winning the National League West. And the 3 times in my life I saw the Padres win the National League West, in 98 and 05 and 06, and only winning in 05 because we finished tied at 82 and 80, but we had the better, we won the season series, so we got the tiebreaker to win the division title that year. But it's always LA or it's San Francisco. And especially if you're, just like in the National League West, in the NL West, for perspective, here, you have the Dodgers, then you have the Giants. Usually it's been those 2 teams over the past 5, 7, 9, 11 years. And then occasionally you get Arizona or you get San Diego. And then you think about, the fan bases in, like the Padres and the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. We're all in the same boat trying to figure out how in the world do we finally take down these guys in San Francisco and in LA, because again, those are 2 of the bigger markets, in the division, and also probably 2 of the bigger ones for all 5 California baseball teams in general. But as much as I think that a salary cap would perhaps work, that the players are going to say no, because you can keep bumping up that luxury tax, guys. It won't matter. The Yankees and Dodgers will always, repeatedly abuse that rule and spend over that limit. So you can keep making it, 250, 300, whatever the tax is going to be. They're still going to do it. That's why, though, that they win, because they may be loaded with money, but it's because they're not afraid to take those penalties and pay out of their pocket to get those star players. And especially if I know anything about LA sports, and knowing about how the Buss family ran the Lakers for a long time, and how Jack Kent Cooke first ran the LA Kings when he got the NHL club, you have to have star players to bring the people to the games. Now, yes, that narrative has probably been kicked here in San Diego, because now that all of a sudden, oh, we have Manny Machado, oh, we have Eric Hosmer, oh, we have Yu Darvish, like this sort of stuff. Like I try to tell people, this Padre ball club, for example, this never happens here in San Diego. And I need to kind of get on the soapbox a little bit, kind of put my front paws up and kind of say that, because in my entire life, other than 1998, there has not been a lot of star talent playing for the Padres. Yes, we had Jake Peavy. Yes, we had Chris Young. Yes, we had veterans like Ryan Klesko and Phil Nevin and Mark Loretta, but they were all at the back half of their careers, though. Even I think about the 98 ball club guys every day during baseball season, but that was a team all of major league veterans. Vaughn and Finley and Tony Gwynn, Caminetti, Chris Gomez, Kilvio Veras, Wally Joyner, Carlos Hernandez, and that entire pitching staff with Kevin Brown and Andy Ashby. Those guys had been around, though. But now, though, you have, like I said, though, Hosmer coming here. That never happens. Manny Machado coming here. That, again, never happens. Yeah. Trading, for some kid named Fernando Tatis Jr., and he pans out to be what he is, despite the injuries. That, again, just does not happen here. And yet you're trying to build a club, though, to compete, though, against the likes of Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and, Cody Bellinger and all these, LA guys. And then you have to compete against, Buster Posey forever, and Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford and Jock Peterson up in San Francisco. So even though I think that there could be a salary cap, players would say no. It would be, I think, worse than last year's negotiations. If there's one thing that I truly love, though, about the CBA, and I talked to the James Buffetts at the game on Monday, it is the fact of this new schedule format come 2023, where you are going to play every single team in Major League Baseball. So after, yelling at the top of my lungs from the day from 1998, why are the Padres not playing the Anaheim Angels every year in interleague play? I finally get my wish next season, and I could not be happier about that.
All right. So we're over a few minutes, but I want to ask one question to everybody. I saw this posted on Facebook at one of the baseball websites or
Beautiful
groups. If you could hold one MLB record, what would it be? James, I'll start with you. What MLB record would you like to hold? And I'll take out the fact. Let's take out Cal Ripken's consecutive
games played.
No,
let's take that out.
Just took mine.
All right, James, what do you got?
Well, if it's done clean, I would love to have the home run record.
Okay.
And have it be
legit
716. Somehow get rid of Bonds' mark, and then or have to surpass Barry Bonds, which is what 757. I would love to have that record.
Okay.
And I'm telling myself I don't think anybody will sadly catch that. I know we're in the era of swing away and swing for the fences, but I just think there's so many strikeouts and so many pop-ups and all that the common sense hitting will not make anyone have that record. But I would love to have that record because everybody knew Henry Aaron for having that home run record, or else he would just be another one of those great players. But everybody knew, and because of who he beat out, Babe Ruth, I would love to be notable like that.
Okay. All right. Before we move on, this one, Joey just put in probably one of the coolest ones. The record for the most cycles completed in MLB.
Yes.
That
nice.
would be.
That's a good one.
That's definitely a cool one. And
that will be his.
And then Tim's would be DiMaggio's hitting streak. So, Chris, what record would you like to hold?
Probably no hitter. I feel like I got a good arm.
All right, go for Nolan Ryan's.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, since I already took yours away, what are you going to go with?
I would go for the most triple crowns because I want to be the most feared hitter coming up, and so forth. So that is where I would go for the record.
Most triple crown. All right, Callan, what do you got?
I've thought about this thought about it, and honestly, and just thinking about when I played though, and here I finished playing 10 years ago when I finished, playing in high school, and just thinking about my last year playing is I would honestly want to be the guy who goes an entire year without making an error in the field, because I was more proud about my defense my final year than anything offensively. I hit like 330 my final season. Nice. Playing in high school, but I was more proud about going the entire year I think all but 2 games without making an error. So I'd like to go like a full season without making an error in the field. That's what I would go for, is like 1,000 fielding percentage the entire season. I know it's probably not possible, but why not?
It is possible. Come join our softball team.
For me, I thought about it, and I think would have to be like the career best win percentage.
Ooh, good one.
As a pitcher, because
100%. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, impossible, but the best win to loss ratio, I think, would be for me.
Best win loss record. No, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. So we went a little extra innings today. I guess we'll throw out there. So, James, why don't you
runner on second base?
Yeah. Yeah. So, James, why don't you give us some final thoughts there?
Hey, man. Hey, thank you for having me on. It's great to see everybody again and talk again to everyone. And, I know Coast to Coast, they have some great programming, and it'll keep going. So stay tuned on this network. There'll be a lot more for you.
All right. Sarge, how about you? What you got going on?
I gotta say, thoughts and prayers with all the families are affected with the shooting down Texas. With that one, I don't know if that has been hit, but like James said, stick with Coast to Coast. I think our final game of the women's tackle football game is coming up for their home team with the Washington Cougars. Check that out with our own J-Mac doing the play-by-play, and we might have some better video with that one. So check it out.
All right, Callan, how about you? What's going on with your network?
No, just thanks for having me on, and I'm glad to be back finally. Back here on Coast to Coast. It's been just very, season's coming down to the end here for the college baseball season. But no, things over on Intergalactic are kind of picking up some steam. We're getting ourselves kind of back on track come next Monday. But if you haven't checked out Trevor and John's Star Wars podcast, they're going to be recapping the Kenobi series coming up on Saturday over on Iceland. First 2 episodes drop on Friday. But also don't forget, though, because I live in San Diego, Top Gun Maverick also in theaters on Friday. So do not miss that out.
Ooh. All right, Chris, what's going on with Coast to Coast?
Not much. We got keeping it real tomorrow night. And then we also have Ohio Valley Wrestling. And then a bunch of other shows, coming up between the ropes. You name it, we have it. So just stay with Coast to Coast.
Yep. And if we don't have it, please name it and we'll get it.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
definitely stick. Keep checking out Coast to Coast. We do have some plans in the works. I know Ace, our beloved host, he's working on a couple things, and we hope to have a morning tailgate show with our NFL predictions soon. Try to get together with the guys and set that up. But always check us out Sunday through Sunday. So we got something going on. 4 Bros.
Yep.
All that good stuff. So with that being said, I want to thanks to Callan and James, Chris, and Sarge for all joining myself. And check us out next Wednesday with the returning host, Ace, hopefully. So this is Big B signing off for Sports Minute. Have a good night.
Bye.